how come this isn't going?
Hi, everyone. Welcome to
Tech Down Over.
I'm Rick Zanotti.
I'm Harold Muliati.
I'm Geoff Blanchard, and this is this week's episode of Tech Down Over.
And we are back, and here we are, another show, almost mid-June. The FIFA World Cup is going on right now. Couple games already underway. Nothing like incredible boredom to keep you going. The games have been pretty bad.
I was just going to say, I'll use an American expression that I think is quite strange. American expression, I could care less.
Yes.
I couldn't care less, but I don't know. We won't get into that one.
Yeah, I actually like the World Cup. That's all I ever watch. I don't watch any normal games. Occasionally I'll watch the World Cup, but not too often. Anyway, here we are. Let's talk tech.
Yes, certainly.
What do we want to talk about?
Well, so speaking of tech...
What I want to just talk about firstly is, as I said, I know pre-show was talking about something else about dog training, but it sort of has to do with tech and that. So I've been looking at one of these sites which do a lot of videos and shows you bits and pieces about training. It's a subscription site, and then they send out a little survey to say, what do you think about our site and all the things. And the survey on it was quite useless. It asked you all the questions it was useless. None of the questions are like, well, what were the quality of the videos and the content? Yeah, that was fine, but nothing on that. So I sent a nice little email because I'll just let them know. So yes, content of the site is great, but some of the videos, you've got some old 4x3 videos that look like they've been recorded on 8mm tapes, very fuzzy. And then they sent I thought it was quite an attacking email back to me. Said, we use top of the quality, streaming software, and that our equipment is top quality. And I said, I'm sorry, I wish I'd never bothered. I said, usually I never get involved in response, but I'm into tech and I like to see good video. And I said, you cannot hide 4:3 video that's taken from a tape and say it's no matter how many millions of dollars worth of equipment, it's still 4:3 fuzzy quality. And I thought, that's fine, you have that, but if you ask somebody advice and you say, well, in this modern age, you go onto YouTube and the things that are not paying, you get 4K 16:9 great quality stuff. And all I was saying to that is, yes, it might be still relevant. You can see it. It's not woeful, but when people do supply that top quality off an iPhone that you can get, it sort of detracts from some people's sites. So I think people do have to be aware that, yes, the content might be great, but with the technology and what me, you, Rick, Sarah, and everybody can do just themselves, they can make a top quality video. So I think people just got to watch that when, yes, they've done this. Oh, no, we can't redo that again. But it starts to date very quickly, don't you think?
Yeah, and also one of the funny things is like when people take iPhone videos, there's the issue of taking, or any video on a cell phone, they either take it portrait mode, so now you have lots of big, huge black space in YouTube, or they take it landscape, which is okay. But when they take it portrait, all they're doing is creating very narrow videos, and it doesn't really look good more often than not. I don't know if you guys have seen those on YouTube.
Oh, yeah.
But the thing is, what I can't understand with technology and that, why don't the phone people do it that you can hold your phone up and portrait, do it landscape? Because I would set the camera so that you could set an option so whenever I'm hot, because it's just natural people that hold the phones like that, so they do it like that rather than, to me, it's not natural for filming. I always do mine like that.
I mean, really, that ought to be the default, I would think.
Sorry?
Really, that ought to be the default, because you see that so much with the people with the funny little tall portrait things, and then I almost feel like it should just take it landscape either way, because I don't see there being that many applications for actually having that funny little skinny portrait video.
By the way, that's the first time I've heard Harold with a Canadian accent since he's been here. How'd you do that? That was pretty good. He said something was very Canadian. I went, wow, that's good.
I'm not sure what it was. I'll have to review the footage. And
yeah, that was interesting. I went.
Yeah. Only way I can usually tell is the word out. That's
out.
The only one.
Oot na boot. Yes, we were oot na boot.
Well, that's what people
they don't say A as much. Actually, I was told that by one of the people who works with us, and she said, we don't say A that much, eh? Wait a minute. And then she'll say A. It's like, that's funny.
It's amazing when you start criticizing somebody about the way they say something, you end up saying it yourself.
Yep.
I remember a friend of mine, she always used to answer the phone in a particular way, and I always used to tease her about how she answered the phone. And I realized 10 years later I was answering it the same way because I'd made so much fun about it. I started doing exactly the same thing, so you've got to watch it. So what other things have been happening with you, Rick, as far as technology this week?
Well, I don't know. Let's see. I'm going to sell one of the camcorders we got, the Sony NX80. We're going to sell that one. Okay. Instead, we're buying a second XF400 from Canon.
Oh, that's good.
Not the NX80 was a great camera. I liked it, but we don't need to diffuse our line too much, and we have more Canons for camcorders, and we figured we're also doing a video shoot in about 4 weeks, and we want to have the same camera, so we decided to just get a secondary XF400 without the SDI. And the other thing we're looking at, which we've never really used because the shoots were easy enough we didn't have to, but in this case we're doing an event which would be to film a class for a day and a half. We were going to shoot with the GH5, but I thought, that's a long time to shoot with the GH5, and we've never done that long a video with the GH5. I have an idea it would work okay, but we figured, the ergonomics are a little different. Camcorders are built for this kind of stuff. So we decided to go back with what we were familiar with as far as long-term shooting, and the XF405 will do a good job. And now we're looking at we got the MixPre 6 again. I think I told you that one. We sold the one we had, and then we realized, oh, darn, what an idiot. I had the things we needed. So I went back and got it again. And that starts and stops the camera, adds time code to it. So it does some nice stuff with the 405. Harold created a what do you call it?
A preset.
A preset for it.
We have the preset. We have it set up so that the camera will start the MixPre 6 recording when it starts recording on the camera, and it'll also transmit the time code so that their time codes will sync up. Okay. What we're trying to figure out is how we'll get the same time code from those two to a second camera that'll be sort of across the room.
Without spending a fortune. So we've been looking at time code systems, and they have a thing called the UltraSync 1, which allows you, it generates either a Genlock time code, a regular time code, world clock, and it looks pretty good. They're about $300. We may need 2 of them. I'm not sure if we need 1 or 2. It looks like we may need 2. And then that will take the time code from the MixPre and send it to the other camera probably. Oh, so, okay. Or when it comes in, it'll attach one time code to everything. So we should have a very in-sync time code. So we'll have to see.
And it seems like they're pretty versatile. You can set the UltraSync ones. You can set one of them to sort of slave from the other one. So you can have one as the master, and then the other one will take the time code from that one, and so on.
Yeah, should be pretty good. It's a nice way to have the time code. Again, because it's a long shoot, it's easier to get 2 cameras synced up with time code versus just trying to align them and get them perfectly for the audio. So that should be pretty good. It'll be a fun shoot. We've got 2 guys shooting for us that sound like they know what they're doing, and the XF405s really shoot nicely. They're nice camcorders.
Yeah,
And it is
no matter
interesting.
what, you can't take that away from Canon. They're a good stable thing, and you know when you get a Canon like that 405 and it's a video camera, you know it's going to do the job. You don't have to worry about that. But yes,
Yeah.
let's say, like you said, the GH5 might be a nice camera, but they're still in that marketplace where I'm a bit worried to switch it on and record for 3 hours straight.
Right.
Even though it can do, it's not ergonomically designed to be held, or I don't know what, but just a proper camcorder, even on a battery, they're designed to work for 3 or 4 hours on a battery non-stop. So they're proved to do that. So I think maybe good idea, Rick, maybe just even if you're there, just stick the GH5 on a tripod in the corner, just leave it running.
We are taking one as a backup just in case. So that may be an option, because we were thinking if we take the XA35 as a backup, it's a good camcorder, but it is a 1/2-inch sensor, whereas the XF400 and 405 are 1-inch sensors, which for a camcorder is a pretty large sensor. So that's why we decided, we'll take the XF. We'll have two XFs. The GH5 is what, 1 1/4 inch, I think, something like that. I don't think it's 1.5. It's a little bit smaller, but that's also a pretty big sensor, and you get pretty good results out of it. You know what I've been looking at? I'm not going to buy it right now because I can't afford it right now, but I've got my eye on the Canon C300 Mark II.
Oh, you haven't? I've been looking at that for ages, but it's the C300.
Yeah.
That was the last time I looked. It was about 15,000.
Oh no! Now they're 8.
That's what I said. I know the last time I looked, but I know they keep coming down. But they're a damn good camera. But I still think you're going to be in the same situation as the other ones. Are great, but I think there's still too much that you have to do.
There may be. It just looks cool. I like the way it looks, and it does shoot nicely. The other option would be, I don't know if this is worth it, but the C100 is the EOS 1DX. That's another nice camera. It's a little expensive. That's like $6,000, but it does, I believe, have an articulating screen and shoots 4K. I haven't really checked out the codecs. They're probably MPEG.
How good is the 4K on that, though? I mean, as I understand it, it's okay. More of a photo camera, though, isn't it?
It's a hybrid. It's okay. So it does both. The video is really good on it. The only thing is, it's big.
Yeah.
And I think I don't know if that's the one that's shooting with CFast. Those are expensive. One card is $200-$300.
Yeah, that one's.
And you don't get that much. 128. So, not sure.
But C300 is quite a bulky thing. But the thing is, with those ones, though, you can take handle grips off. You can take things off to make it smaller while you're putting it on a tripod, or you can adjust handle grips for much better. Or video as well. So like they've got that traditional grip where I like it, the old ones where you can have it on your shoulder and have the handle down, so you can really hold it nicely. So there's something to be said about just that slightly bigger camera, like those 405s. They're just nice, big enough that you can hold them nicely if you have to free hold them.
Yep. The only thing I wish they had done a little bit better, the 405 is a nice camera. It's fairly simple, but they got rid of the 3 rings, which used to be in the XF200.
Oh, okay.
So now they went to 1 ring, which could be either zoom or focus. So that's easy. It's a switch. And then you have to go to the little roller control, which I don't like that much.
Oh, yeah, they have that miniature wheel in the corner.
Yeah, that one is sort of so-so. Don't really care for it too much. It's okay. It's just not as nice as having a physical ring. The XF405 is a nice camera. It really could use some more external buttons. They don't have a lot. What do they have, 3 or 4? I mean, it's not many.
I think there's a few more, but yeah,
it's maybe 5 max that are custom. But I would like to see a little bit more manual control, because everything's in the menus. And the menus aren't hard. They're pretty easy, but you're diving into menus.
I mean, it is better than the XA35, for example, because on the XF405, they kind of patterned it after their DSLRs, where they've got a lot of sub-menus, so there's not as much scrolling. You just have pages, which is, it makes it faster to go through the menus.
And it's full touch screen.
Yeah.
So from that point of view, it's good.
But it's funny though what they do though. There's things like that 405, the sort of hedging their bets a little bit. They know there's people like you that will want to have a bit of manual control, but they also know that probably half the people will click the auto button and just shoot.
I know.
And just say,
you
I've got
buy
that one.
people buy
And
a
that's what-
$3,200 camera and they go into auto.
But they know that that's what the case, because
Yes.
even a lot of the time when people do know what to do, half the time says, I can't risk it, I'll just put it on auto.
Yeah, that's true.
It's doing a damn good job, because let's face it, a lot of the time it does do a good job. And I must admit, sometimes when I'm using manual, I love the auto because sometimes it undoes what I've set the camera for.
Yeah.
You say, I can't get this right. Click it onto auto. So, well, it can do that, so I know I'm doing something wrong. So it does help a bit.
Yeah, it's interesting. But, the Canon line of camcorders, I think these are the highest end on the camcorders. And then you have to go to the cinema line, which would be the C100, 200, 300. I think there's a 400 or 500, 700. They have a lot of hundreds now. And they're all very expensive. Some of them are good. But, I've been talking to a lot of corporate video guys recently. I was surprised at how many are shooting with Canon. And it's mostly C100s to C300s. So, and they're just doing corporate work. They're not doing TV with those corporate.
Yeah. But that's the thing, is to have the right equipment. And as I said, with Canon, we've had cameras and that for them. All of them, they've never let you down. You just stick them on the tripod, film them. They do a great job. Even in a studio, they're easy. Even with the push wheels, they might be a bit awkward, but they're easy enough to find. At least the wheel, you can just keep pressing it to get the.
And they don't break. I mean, I saw actually in real life, Harold dropped the 5 DSR, and he dented the floor. Nothing happened to the camera. It was, nothing. It was amazing.
Needless to say, I'm being very careful with that camera since then. I've barely been taking it outside. I'm usually just shooting stuff inside, set up stuff.
but it was amazing. It didn't
save the camera, but it cost him $5,000 to replace the slate floor in your kitchen because he smashed the floor.
Yeah, I mean, even when I dropped the GH5, or actually when it fell out of my bag as I was slinging it over my shoulder, I thought it was going to break. No, camera, not one mark. But the lens sheared off of it, and you just go, wow. And at that point, I realized how cheap lens mounts are. My gosh.
Well, and I think one edge that Canon has with a lot of shooters is that a lot of people grow up using Canons, or those are kind of the first cameras that they really get familiar with. And so when people are on a shoot under pressure, they might be more likely to just kind of instinctually know what to do with a Canon compared to other brands. Although there are other brands like Panasonic with the GH5 and so on that have rather similar layouts and menus and stuff like that. So I guess those aren't too far off.
Well, I was watching Hugh Bronson last night. He did maybe a couple of days ago. He did a review of the Sony RX 100 Mark VI, I think it was. And that's the little small one with an APS-C sensor. It's amazing. It has very fast 300 and something autofocus points. It's got really a good lens. It's a 70 to 200 millimeter basic, or 24 to 200 millimeter little lens that goes out very far without being too big. It shoots 4K. I don't know if it has any heat problems yet, but it's a really small body. And I don't know how fast or how long the batteries will last. But, they're saying, here you go. You've got a nice viewfinder. It's small, but you can see clearly through it. You've got a lot of functionality in the Sony, but I don't know. We bought the Sony A9, and we bought the A7R III. They're both very good cameras, but for video, I'm not convinced they're the best video cameras. You only have a half hour of shooting. That's sort of lame. I don't know why they did that. Well, they did it for the EU. I say screw the EU. Make a separate model, just like Panasonic did. They have 2 GH15s. One for the EU that's mentally crippled and only does half hour of filming, and then the other one that can film forever. in the US or anywhere else. So you just go, why are they doing this? And Sony just kept it crippled. You just wonder sometimes. So I've actually been considering selling Sony too.
But the thing is, that's what I've been hearing, like that we was going back to the Canon video. It's one of those things which you can always rely on and say the color, the color it produces. But also I've been hearing lately people with the Sonys have said, yes, they do great videos, great pictures, but sometimes they said the coloring it does, it looks good, but it's not quite normal. It's sort of larger than life or different. And then some of the things people are saying, the quality is so excellent, you can see every mark on somebody's face. Except you don't want that. You don't want it to be striking reality. You want it to be a good video.
Right. Well, they could diffuse some of that.
Want to see every blemish on their face sometimes.
Well,
go ahead.
From what I've seen shooting with our Sony cameras here, they do get kind of I don't know if I'd say exaggerate, but they get a little more color depth than you'd kind of expect.
They have saturation.
But with the details, they get really good micro contrast, like stuff hardly bleeds over from, say, like a bright area and a dark area, and I guess that's the thing. It goes back again to just, if that's really beneficial to the kind of shooting you're doing, then it's definitely an option to consider. For some people, it might not be too good, like you said about catching every little blemish on the face.
Well, the thing where I saw that one, it was from somebody saying on YouTube that they're getting rid of the A7 III. It's not that they're bad cameras, but he was a wedding shooter, and he said the last thing my clients want to see is the actual truth.
Yeah.
He said they want to see the perfect thing on the day. They don't want to see that the makeup was slightly thin, or they can see the face. They want something to remember as a perfect day, not the absolute truth.
Yeah, I would suspect that the Sonys would be better for something like outdoor wildlife shooting, where the really fast autofocus and the contrast, where you're getting bright sunlight sometimes. You would like to have that distinction between the really dark areas and the bright areas and still see them. So yeah, shooting wild animals and stuff like that. But I could see how some people at a wedding, or the people getting married, might not like to be shot as wild animals.
Yep.
But I know if I had if that was my day-to-day thing and I needed something for shooting, I would probably still stick with the Canon. And like I said, if I'd love one of the C300s, if I could, but if you was filming all the time, you can sort of justify that if you're doing it all the time, because it's going to be stable. It's not the Sony, yes, it could, or will it be, or won't it be on that one? But I suppose even in their high-end camcorders, the Sony and the Canon, you can't go wrong with them in their high-end camcorders, because they're sort of the industry standards, really, aren't they? So
now, you want to hear something interesting? I was watching Peter Gregg's review. Actually, did a comparison review of the Canon M50, that new cheap little mirrorless that they came out with that's semi-crippled with the 4K, and then he compared it to the new Sony A7 III, the Mark III. And the sad thing is, in 4K, they didn't look that different.
Oh, okay.
I was shocked. I'm going, no way. I mean, no way. 4K doesn't even have dual pixel autofocus on it. So I'm looking at the Canon, and he was having side-by-side shot. Wow. They didn't look that different. The Sony was a tad sharper, but that's about it. It wasn't really anything that stood out as that much better. Maybe a bit brighter, maybe. That was pretty mind-boggling when to see that. I would never have expected anything like that, and I think Peter didn't either. He was going, this camera just intrigues me. How can it do this? How can it even compete with a $2,000 A7 III? Now I'm wondering, because that's the one he bought. He bought that one.
Even have a look at that one, though. Look at the Casey's video. Peter's was probably just standing still. Casey's was moving, and that's sort of came undone, wasn't it, with the stabilization, how it used to jitter and all that. It wasn't so much the quality of it. It's when he started moving was I think on the video made a big difference.
Yep.
Well, and the other thing that I'm wondering is, Do they still only have like what was it, 3 or 4 different lenses for the mirrorless?
No, they've
Canons?
got about 7 or 8.
Okay, so they've released a few
but none
more.
of them are any good.
It still seems weird to me that they have special lenses just for the mirrorless ones.
Yeah,
Like,
it's because of the flange, the way that they built the mirrorless. I think there's not a lot of room, so the other ones don't fit as well, which is why you want the adapter.
yeah, but I feel like they must have done that on purpose to try to get you to buy a new set of lenses.
Probably.
Well, isn't it a bit like, because the Canon lenses, you can adapt your Canon lens to the Nikon, but you can't do a Nikon to a Canon or something.
That's correct. Something like that.
Mhm.
I don't think Nikon works on any.
That's the same thing with them, because one of them's too big to go down to that way. So
Yeah.
so that's the same. But with Harold there, though, that's what I've always thought with. If I was a Canon thing coming up with one, I thought, even I know how it's possible, but if you could get a mirrorless camera that did all your lenses that you've ever done in the Canon range.
I know,
without an
right?
adapter, that's what people want. If they can just take the old one,
Right.
put it on, they'll buy it. But I know it might not. But say, hey, there must be some way around it if they're making. But it just seems to me strange to push people. If they've got to get another set of lenses, well, I'll go for another brand. It doesn't matter then. I don't have to stick with the same brand.
No.
And
Yeah.
make me keep with Canon.
And
'cause
actually,
all
I
I've got-
wouldn't buy Canon lenses. I would probably buy Tamrons, and I'd buy Sigmas over the Canon.
But at least you know if it works Canon lens, you know you've got all those.
Oh, sure.
Those
Mount-wise,
ones you
yeah.
could do on that as
Yeah.
well and keep those people.
Now, I tell you, the Sony lenses are good. They look good. They're sharp. They just look good, and they're incredibly quiet, but they're also damn expensive. So there's always that. And so are the Canon lenses. They're very expensive at the higher end. I was watching a review by Fronos Photo, Jared Polin, and he said there's the new 70 to 200 Mark II or 3 for Canon, and he goes, there's nothing different other than they have a slightly different white color to it. And they said, "Could you like our new white color?" And he's like, "God." And other than that, there was like one control different, and that's it. So you wait 10 years, and here's your new version. It's a different color. I don't get it.
Normal consumer thing, waiting for that when they bring out the blue, browns, and pinks
Yeah.
for the label or something. Because hey, it sounds silly, but they will sell if they do them. Because
I
some
know.
people just buy them because of the silly colors.
Yeah. So anyway, kind of interesting. Well, we are at the end of our time. We did our half hour, and
We go
It goes
quickly
fast.
when we also get plenty to talk about.
it goes fast. I think we have do we have a guest next week?
Yes.
Isn't it Curtis?
Oh, we have Curtis next
Yeah,
week. Great.
Curtis.
That'll be good.
Yeah,
Always like seeing Curtis.
we're gonna ask him about stuff, right?
Yeah, we're going to ask him stuff. Well, we'll probably do it offline, but
We better ask him something, or else it's pointless if we're all sat there going,
yeah.
We're just gonna all stare at him.
Well, we could do something cool like that. Hey, Curtis.
I wonder if you could do a show like that with all three of us just sat there for half an hour and
Yeah.
not saying it and see if
Hey,
anybody
guys, that
comments.
was great, wasn't it? Yep. Yeah. Okay. Well, see you next week. Yep.
30 minutes of intense eye contact this
No,
week.
don't
on
You know what's
Canon.
funny? You know what, though? That would be William's favorite show.
Just don't even say hello. Just stare at the camera, have a free shot.
That's something Yoko Ono would do.
Show and finish it.
That's funny. Well, anyway, if you're watching in the audience, thank you very much. Please subscribe, give us feedback. I'd say buy something from us, but there's nothing to sell. So, hey, buy something from someone. You got to buy something. Keep the economy going. And
Unless you're in Australia and you're trying to buy something from Amazon.
that's
'cause
right.
You can't anymore.
Oh, yeah, Australia, Amazon.
No, what the whole idea of that is because now Amazon's got a presence here. They're trying to make you the cutting off that one getting from the American one, and plus from the 1st of July, the Australian government's changing their tax laws for that. So even if you did get it from Amazon America, they'd have to figure out the tax and collect it from you, and then pay the Australian government. So they don't want to do that. So now,
Yep.
well, you'll have to do it through that Australia. I don't know whether they've got access to the same products. According to them, they'll say you're going to have quite a lot. But the thing is, that's the only reason I go to the American, not so much for the price.
Yeah.
It's more so sometimes the availability. You can't get a lot of things that you can get on the American side.
Right.
Like just for instance, I got the other day a dual leather dog lead It's very hard to get a decent dog lead here, but Amazon there had something for $30. And even though it cost me $9 shipping, doesn't matter. It far better than I couldn't get anything like that here. So the last one, I had to get it made from a saddler, a leather lead, which cost me $110 for them to make it. So,
do you folks don't have the Petcos or things like that?
They do, but they have the pet. But it's like everything in the thing. It's all the modern stuff. Nobody bothers with the nice leather leads. The nylons, and I think it's like. I always like to have a nice leather lead that you can oil up, and it just always seems to be better than the nylon or the ropey type things. So we'll see how that goes.
Well, anyway, so we will see you next week, Geoff, and for all you people watching, Curtis Judd will be on next week, and have a great week. Enjoy the World Cup if you watch it. Bye-bye.
Bye for now.